Welcome back to Rome Boys. On this episode, we're going to talk about the speech heard around the world.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Harrison Butker.
Harrison Butker. Yeah,
How long has it been out for now? It's been
several weeks.
Yeah,
Well, it was a commencement speech at Benedictine College.
Yeah.
Small little college.
Beginning of May, something like
May
that.
11th.
May 11th. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Would we have even heard about it if it wasn't for the
I might have, just because I'm in the Benedictine College world and love
you're
that
okay.
school. My wife went there, and a lot of my
graduated.
friends went
Oh,
there,
well,
and
there
stuff
you
like
go.
that. So, but I was even looking at the stats of Father Mike Schmitz, which we love. We interviewed him. He's huge, right?
Yeah.
And he did a commencement speech, Ave Maria, and the numbers are like night and day,
Yeah.
as far as Booker's
Well,
speech
that's what I mean.
really
Would
got
we
out
even-
there. Because it's a little bit more controversial.
Yeah.
Well, he
according
won the
to
Super
world.
Bowl twice.
This is true. This
I
is
mean,
true.
come on.
Yeah. Right.
We can, yeah.
Yeah.
But would we have even heard about it if it wasn't for a certain political group getting all up in arms about
Yes,
it?
exactly. Yes, we wouldn't.
Probably not.
No.
You know,
Never would've
where
heard.
I heard about it was a friend of mine who's LDS, Latter-day Saint Mormon. And all he could do was say that was amazing. And
Oh,
it's
my.
amazing how, one of the most...
RCIA is now. You don't want to say
the basic tenets of their faith and ours is family.
Yeah.
And that's really the principle of what the whole
Yeah.
culmination of the speech was. He even said he got a structural engineering degree. Would I ever have known that, I'm an introvert.
Yeah, right,
You know,
right.
He said he's an
Butker, yeah.
introvert. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it's just completely not what you think the world is leading you to. I mean, it's a commencement speech,
Right.
right? They're all
Yeah.
getting degrees.
Yeah.
And yet he says that his greatest achievement is his wife, who loves him and supports him and is a homemaker, which became her greatest, because she sought out her greatest and ultimate.
Because you see the priorities, right? At the end of,
Yep.
of our life, like the Super
Yeah.
Bowl rings won't matter.
Nope.
And the fame and the money and whatever else. But
But again, he wouldn't be up there if it wasn't for
this is true.
the two
It
rings.
got him that
But-
platform.
Got him the platform. But again, I have to give it to him. I mean, he's a young kid
Yeah.
that is very successful in sports. I mean, but to give that kind of speech knowing that you're going to be, you're painting a target on your back.
Yeah.
I mean, that
when
guy's
you
got
bring
guts.
up so many different topics,
Yeah.
you're going to offend someone. Yeah.
The guy's got guts because to go out there and knowingly,
Be real and
You're
be
gonna-
bold, be Catholic. Boom.
yeah, you're going to say this speech that you know you're going to get ridiculed over. I mean,
Yeah.
that takes.
Yeah.
Can't say that word on this sport.
Well, I heard about it because there was somebody from another religion and another faith. It was unifying. That's what I'm saying. Like it was completely unifying because even people of other faiths recognize family is most important. Like the politicians of the world, the leaders of the world. I mean, and we all see this.
Yeah.
We're built to follow a leader, Jesus Christ.
Right.
And he was completely controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, he came into the church and flipped over tables. He spoke against the Jewish
Jesus, not
priests
Butker.
of the day. Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah. And he quoted Jose Maria Escriva and just said, like, you can't be comfortable. The first word of the speech is suffering. And it just goes on from there. And he talks about you got to be in the world but not of the world. And in quoting Jose Maria Escriva, Saint Jose Maria Escriva, he just said you can't just go along with because Father said so. I mean, a saint said this. You can't just do it because Father said so.
Yeah. Because
And
we're all human and all sinners. And
Yeah.
So when I watched it, it was at a men's group that we had. And my first reaction was, after, because I'd already seen through the media and all that stuff of what the uproar was about, have them getting all huffy and puffy about, he wants women to be barefoot and pregnant, which he never said any of those
Yeah,
things.
they
Right,
just
right,
spun
right.
it.
Yeah,
Sure.
they spun it to fit their not narrative, their riots, their anger mob. But my first reaction was like, man, the people who should be the most uproar about this should be the bishops and the
I was
priests.
thinking, what are they thinking? Yeah.
When I
because
watched it,
they're
I was sitting
getting-
there going, why are the libs all upset? The bishops and the priests should be upset.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if they were offended, if they emboldens them to want to do something different. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is what can they say? It's a critique of someone that this
Yeah.
is what he thinks. This is his experience.
Well, I mean, and he talks about COVID a lot. and especially in the first part of the speech, he talks about COVID a lot, and that's where he was really critical, I think, of the bishops and stuff. And I watched a critique from Father Joe Krupp. Shout out, hey bud. And he was right on when he was saying, guys, we were all lied to.
Yeah.
We were all lied to, and they were just the bishops were going off the information they had and
trying to do the
just
best they
doing
can.
the best they could.
Yeah.
And that's, again, we were all lied to.
Right.
And so I think he's really critical of the priests and the bishops, especially the comments. He really took a shot at somebody that, they're more worried about what their picture's going to look like in their directory with the dog matching the dogs. I was like, dude, somebody made you mad.
Yeah.
Somebody made him mad.
Yeah. I mean, the only critique that I got from the whole speech, overall, I mean, it's bold and it's real.
Sure.
And he's getting people fired up. It's getting a reaction. It's getting the left, and hopefully they will change. Conversion. Isn't that the whole point, right? Those of us within the church, what do we need to do to clean things up? I mean, that's amazing. Encouraging. It wasn't encouraging at all, but it's a truth-telling. Not sermon.
I thought it was encouraging, but I'll save. You have an opinion. And I'm good with it.
It wasn't encouraging, or it didn't bring joy. This is kind of the goal of Rome Boys, right? You speak the truth, but I think of Archbishop Chaput. He was my archbishop while I was in the seminary. I think of lots of other people, like even Father Larry. He'll come at you, but hopefully that joy is what resonates from it. And then also, he mentions the TLM often, close to 10 times, but he doesn't say the word Jesus, as far as I could see, throughout the whole commencement speech.
He did. He did.
I just listened to it right before. Maybe he said it once, but he says the TLM almost 10 times. So, it's important what our words say.
We could have a whole episode on that one just on its own.
This is true. This is true. So I think if Jesus is the resonating point of a speech, and you come off with encouragement, and you tell hard truths, it will have more of an edifying experience to the audience. So that's my critique on it.
Yeah. What I think that the challenge is, this goes back to one of my favorite movies is John Adams, and because it tells a pretty accurate story about the founding of our country. And when you look at the society today, I think the biggest challenge we have is that when people disagree, there's all of a sudden discomfort.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. Mm-hmm. That's wrong. We need to have a better understanding, seeking the way of St. Francis and seeking to understand instead of being understood. And I think that because there's obviously differences in talking about the motu proprio and the traditional mass and so if we see division, I mean, gosh, America gave up segregation a long time ago. Why are we going backwards? Like, why can't we truly be unified even when we're different in so many different ways? So I think the reason I said I thought it was encouraging was because the things that he said were bold, they were authentic, and his intent didn't appear to me to be disparaging, but that he was able to stand up with knowing that there would be differences, and the people in the audience. I mean, think about not everybody that goes Benedictine is even Catholic,
right?
Well, it wasn't even that big. It was like 300 people there.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the critiques I heard is like, or I think it might have even been Bill Maher. And came in defense of him, saying,
I know, right?
Hey, he's giving a Catholic speech, because this was Catholic content. It was Catholic speech to a Catholic audience at a Catholic college.
And he's Catholic.
Why are y'all upset?
Yes.
Or he was.
Yes.
Let him be. Yeah, no,
Butker was, not Bill Maher.
No, is he? I don't even know.
He grew up Catholic.
Okay,
Bill
good to know.
And I think that what's been so successful in the Devil's Handbook here is that using the word unity in a divisive way. Like, what? We're all Catholic here. Like, what? I don't understand why the focus of what about all of the different parts of our church? I mean,
You're talking about the rites?
All the different rites.
Eastern rites, Byzantine, Armenian,
23, 24 different
right,
over 20.
Exactly. And we're not all arguing. I mean, there might be some slight differences that people have had conversations about over the years. But then there's also schism, which is a very, very dangerous territory, right? So that's different. But So I go back to John Adams real quick because John Adams, second president, many thought he should be the first, but they put somebody who was politically positioned, not of the mindset of. It was all based. Nothing against George Washington, but he had no political or educational law background.
Yeah, he's a military man.
Yeah, he's a military man. But John Adams and Ben Franklin, they were two totally opposite people.
Mm-hmm.
John Adams was a monogamous husband. Ben Franklin was a player.
Uh-oh.
I mean, he was. He had a wife, and he cheated on her, on hundreds of occasions. But those two people, as strong as even their personal belief differences were, behind the scenes, they built the country that we enjoy today.
Yeah.
And so we look at the politics of today. If you're Republican, you hate Democrats. If you're Democrats, you hate Republicans. I'm not blanketing everybody, but
and hopefully
that's
that's
the
not the case.
narrative.
Yeah,
right? That's the narrative. And
Right.
why? Why does it have to
Right.
be that way?
Right.
If the goal is for the common good
Yeah.
in our church here in Rowena, Texas, often Texas, St. Thomas, in Miles. I mean, if our goal is unification, then we should be able to rally around our differences. So that's why I thought it was encouraging that
Yeah.
he had the ability, he had the platform.
It was
all
encouraging
authority.
because it was so bold, and
Yeah.
he was not
Yeah.
afraid to say everything out there. I mean, IVF and abortion and calling out.
Yeah.
Didn't say Biden's name, but like
He said the president.
there it was. He
Yeah.
could have said and he's calling out. He didn't say necessarily any particular bishops.
Yeah.
But he was
No.
encouraging in the sense that he was saying there are some bishops out there that are bold
Yeah.
enough to speak the truth. So
He's kind of generalized all of his,
Yeah.
I guess, problems. And it made it sound like they're all having problems. There's some good bishops out there.
Yeah.
Do they do everything right? No.
yeah,
Are they going to? No.
yeah.
I mean, we're human. We're going to screw it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way we are. I did when I first watched it. I thought it was great. I thought, man, this guy's got. What's the term? Cojones?
I knew you were thinking it.
That was the word. That was the word I was wanting to say earlier. Was like, can I say that? Can I say that? I'm going to say it. I mean, that's our show. They can cut me off if they want. But he did. I mean, get up there and say that, and for them to like flip it and turn it to some kind of political agenda.
Right.
That's just what they do.
That's kind of how you know it's like, maybe he's onto something.
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That when you get the liberals uproared over something,
Well, that's what
you
he
did
said
something
himself.
right,
Butker said, "If I take off Whoopi Goldberg, I must be doing something right."
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Joy, what's her name? Behar, whatever. Yeah, that.
I
If you're
think
on the View, being criticized by the View, you're
That's-
doing something right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love your point though, Joe, about talking about Father Joe Krupp. What is it? Not Men in Black.
Joe in Black.
Joe in
Joe
Black.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's great if you haven't seen it.
His homilies are awesome.
He's
I'm
amazing.
listening all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, he got fired up on this.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
He did.
All three kind of where he mentioned it in all three episodes. He was fired up.
But yeah, really, honestly, to your point, I think that is such a great example of seeking to understand where the bishops are coming from. Like, golly, they were lied to. They were lied to.
He said we all were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and you know what? That's a bold stance to take. Same
is.
as Harrison Butker's point. Like the leaders were not leading appropriately,
Yeah.
and they misled the
Yeah.
the
They
flock.
were just going off of the information
The
that was
politi-
gave to him, and the
Yeah.
information was
Yep.
lies.
yeah.
Even the president, right? He just did the best he could. And
Yeah.
You know, and I wonder. Of course, this is my own personal conspiracy theory opinion, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, looking at the boards, every diocese has a board, right? Of advisors that the
Sure.
bishop calls on.
Sure.
There's got to be lawyers on
The
that.
lawyers are.
Oh,
They
gosh.
got to be on those boards. And if they are, as soon as COVID hit, it was like, man, that's going to get us sued. If we're going to get sued, we're going to get sued. Pull the plug.
In one cathedral office, I walked down the hall. There are literally more attorneys' offices than there are clerical or religious
Wow.
offices.
I never
Yes.
heard of that.
It's right here in this state, and it's unbelievable.
Probably cheaper than owning their own office.
Yeah. You might as well just
rent
move
it from the
around and get
diocese.
your own
Yeah.
place. Gosh.
Yeah, there's a whole hallway, nothing
Wow.
but attorneys.
See, so when you're getting information from those guys, they're going to tell you to cover your.
And that's their job, right? You go
Yeah.
to a barber to ask for a haircut, they're going to tell you need a haircut.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that's just how it works.
You have
Yeah.
life-threatening disease that's pandemic going around, the Lord's going to tell you stay home.
I mean, with the
Yeah.
clerical sex abuse, I mean, there are many dioceses going bankrupt right now. So they want to make sure to keep
Yeah,
whatever
right.
treasure that we have. And people don't want to donate because they don't know where the money's going to go. And so
man.
if you can protect it, I can see where the bishops are coming from, is what I'm saying.
That was another shot that Butker took at the bishops, was the comment on the only time you ever see them is when it's time for the annual assessment.
The appeal.
Yeah,
Appeal.
The bishop's
the
appeal.
Bishop's appeal. Like, dang, dude, come on.
Right.
I guess facts are facts.
Yeah.
If that's what he saw, and I have to
Again,
say,
I think-
we have a very unique relationship with our bishop, Bishop Michael Sis, and I think it's a great relationship.
Yeah.
But think about these dioceses where there's tons of different parishes. It's just difficult to get out to every single one of
how
them.
can he do
So,
everything?
yeah,
Bishops
yeah.
have so much
Well,
on their plate.
That too, but to say that we don't hear from them. I mean, Bishop has an article in the Angelus
Yeah.
Yeah.
every month, but it's
Yeah.
it's like most things. It's in the bulletin.
Yeah.
Who reads the bulletin? You know, I don't
Right.
always read the Angelus, but
Yeah.
when COVID came out, I was reading what he had to say about some of those things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that Harrison Butker said was the Church of Nice.
The Church of Nice, yeah.
Yeah, and it really, honestly, when I hear that, you think, wow, the word pastoral in
Can be taken in both ways.
yes, yes, and
Yeah.
so it immediately translates in my mind with the experience, literally having worked for the church and had a priest as a boss, as my direct report. I reported to the priest. Pastoral can often be misrepresented
Yes.
as political. I'm not being pastoral. I'm being political and not actually speaking out against certain things. I understand you don't want to discourage people or disparage people so that they don't come into the church.
Well, pastoral can be relativism. I can
Relativism,
do what I
that's a
want
better
whenever I want to
That's
do
very
it.
exactly.
I've heard priests, doing what they want and they say it's pastoral.
Yeah.
And so, no, that's not what Jesus would. I mean, sometimes there is a gray area, or sometimes obviously that pastor hopefully knows the flock well, and you're coming on the outside and you bring something up, but you don't know all the situations.
Well,
but
it could also
be careful.
This Church of Nice. Is it also maybe kind of, we don't hear a lot of fire and brimstone from the pulpit anymore.
Right.
Could it be also that we're
Yeah.
going to tell people what they want to hear, make them feel good,
Right.
Because we have people
'Cause our
leaving the
numbers
church
are low.
going to.
Yep.
We have people who are leaving the church going to these feel good churches.
very Protestant.
So, yeah, it's very
It
Protestant.
is. It's actually like it's pouring fuel on a fire. People are leaving because they're not getting the truth that's
Or you
bold.
just
It's
keep-
almost the opposite. It's almost pouring water on the fire.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean,
the fire
they're
of
being
the-
nice, and we're
Right.
just pouring water on the fire, and people are leaving
That's
anyway.
it. Yeah, yeah.
I
But
think it needs. Let's throw some
But
gas.
if the
in it.
homily sounds the same every single week for multiple years, I mean,
Sure.
the same message, I mean, love God, love Jesus. I mean, I'm not saying that's not the core of
Right.
everything,
Sure.
but if we pass up all the main things, the fires that are going on
Yeah.
within the pews, like, okay, so the majority of Catholics are for abortion. The majority of Catholics are for, for contraception.
Yep.
What are the real issues going on? There's divorce within, I mean, should everybody be coming up to communion this week?
No.
Are we all in
Right.
the state of grace? I mean, yes, we need to, don't get me wrong, Jesus is the core, but at the same time, if you're not bringing up what's causing people to not follow Jesus the other
Yeah.
6 days of the week, then what's the point?
One of the points that he said was the priest should not look to his people for leadership. You're called father. We're called children.
Yeah.
You're the shepherd. We're the sheep.
Yeah.
To have the concept of saying that the parishioners need to fix everything, I don't know that it necessarily goes against what Venerable Fulton Sheen said, in that hold your priests, make sure your priests are priests, your bishops are bishops, right, all the way up through the hierarchy. I don't think it contradicts that.
I guess I
think
didn't
it
understand that part.
runs parallel with it. I
I think we just have to be careful to where the priest is on a pedestal in the sense of like, oh my goodness, they are ordained by Almighty God. Like St. Francis would kiss the hands of every priest that he came across.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like, oh, there's Joe over there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
his name is Father Joe and we call him Joe, kind of thing. And he just sits on the couch and smokes a cigar and he's just like all of us. I mean, there's a fine line between the two. And I think this is what he was
Yeah,
getting at,
yeah.
and we need to raise the bar for our priests, and and also be encouraging of them, because they are only doing what their bishops are telling them to do, and the bishops are doing what, maybe they hear from Rome, or they're afraid of a lawsuit or whatever
Yeah.
else. So we have to.
Well, he said that when they start just trying to act like normal everyday people,
Yeah.
they're not. And so it starts to make them fall victim to the circumstances of being a layperson, and you start to see priests fall away because of sins that we deal with, that they should not be dealing with, because they should not be allowing themselves to be in those realms. I mean, we look within our own diocese. You see priests that, and because they're just, you got to have their time to get away and be human, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a time and place for that.
Yeah.
And again, here's another episode.
Yeah.
So we can sit there and do a whole episode on what's going on with the priests and
Well, let's
the
do
attacks
it.
that they're,
Yeah.
the attacks that they're undergoing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I guess to sum that up, he said, we need to own our lane and stay in it. Like G.K. Chesterton
I like that.
said, the mind is open until it has something like the mouth to grasp, to close upon, and then to never let go. And so if we're lay people, we need to be lay people. We need to support our priests from that position. We need to go
And
to
how
Mass.
few laity do that. I really believe it. I don't think laity
How many of them have an
support the-
opinion? And so all of a sudden,
I mean, Father Joe says the vast majority of parishioners are pretty much like your enemy, pretty much. I mean, he didn't come out and say it maybe just like that, but they're out to do it their way.
Yeah.
We don't want to change it. This is our church. You don't step on it.
Right.
We're the boss.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
But it's hard for me to picture that. I'm in church and I'm like, oh my goodness, all these people are against our priest. Like, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we really do need to be encouraging and uplifting of them, because we don't want them to leave. We need them for the sacraments, Yeah.
It's just tough because there are those people in our parish family that are just unhappy people.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
tend to take it out on the leader.
Yeah.
And he's the leader.
Yeah.
And
This
so,
is everywhere.
If they-
this is everywhere.
I'm gonna-
every parish. Yeah.
I'm going to say this, like, if they leave because he's telling the truth,
Yeah.
then that's John 6,
Were
chapter
they ever
6,
there to begin
chapter
with?
6,
Right.
66, right? That's
I
the
mean,
first Protestants.
Yeah.
If-
I mean, there is two ways, right? Do you keep them in the pews and say what needs to be said so they never leave? Or do you say the hardcore truths? The next thing you know, now your attendance is down.
I would say that if there was 5 people in the
what I'm
pew
saying
and you're
is that's
speaking the truth,
that's a bishop's decision and telling his priest what's to say. Like,
Yeah.
do we
Well-
want small attendance and we want on fire Catholics, or do we want, we want to keep them there and then slowly build them up to help them to be on fire?
I think this is
God
the
has the
core of
winning
the problem.
formula.
Yeah, God has the winning. I think this is the core of the problem because, I mean, if they're there just out of information,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I'm here because I'm Catholic. If they're not there because of a relationship they have with Jesus,
Right.
then they shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm just there because I'm Catholic by name only, name
Yeah.
tag, and my name's on the box at the front of church, well, that's not a reason to go to church.
Yeah.
You go to church because of the relationship you have with the one
Yeah.
who's residing in the tabernacle.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I mean, you can't, once you realize and have that belief, it's evangelization.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are we evangelized here?
Yeah.
Where do you evangelize first, here or here? In your heart or in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one because sometimes it goes through the head to get to the
Yeah,
heart.
right,
and
right.
Sometimes you got to
Yeah.
get your heart
It's
right
gotta
to get to your head.
It's got to
I mean,
end
it's
up
a
in the
circle.
heart. It's got to end up at the heart sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a vicious circle. So, I mean, if they're going to leave because they have a problem with a teaching of the church, well, then they're not really Catholic and they probably need to leave.
Yeah, and I think the mass confusion that we have in the churches and why all these people
Which
have
that's
these
a good book, by the way, Mass Confusion.
Oh,
Anyways.
yeah. Good call. So is because those that go to Mass, they have all these opinions if they're against the priest. That's because they think it's about them.
Yeah.
Right.
And going to Mass is not about you at all.
I wonder how many
You may
people that
receive-
do critique have been evangelized and really are disciples for the Lord. That might be an argument. I would say
Oh, yeah.
90% are probably not disciples if they're
Yeah,
willing
right.
to, I mean, there are things you need to challenge your priest on things,
Mm-hmm.
and you hope that he changes certain things. But other than that,
Here's another episode because we get the question we get a lot when we go out and do speaking engagements: how do we bring our family back that have left the church? How do we get our kids back to church? And
or how to motivate your priest to do what you want them to do in a parish, like as far as like I don't know, doing a certain type of Bible study or a certain type of ministry. My priest doesn't want to do it. I've heard that a
again,
lot.
but again, it's the what you were just saying, Chris, is that it's all about how they feel.
Yeah.
It's all about me. If
not
I'm going to
about you.
church
Yeah.
because it makes me feel good, that's why they go to the feel good churches.
Yeah.
because it makes them feel good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then you're missing the
I
whole
don't like
point.
the music.
And again, that's very
Nobody does.
It's very Protestant in the sense that it's about community too. Community is a great thing; it's amazing. But I think a lot of people go to church to visit with the people that they are around the pews afterwards. Look at how the church erupts afterwards, and everybody's conversing. This is
In
a
the
great
sanctuary.
This is a great thing to converse and be with fellowship and be with people. But not in the sanctuary,
Yeah.
right? Because then it's not about God. It's about the persons around you, which the church is the people, and I get that.
Yeah.
But there's a both and there. So
Yeah, Noah built an ark because God told him exactly how to build it. He used a vessel to save the people of the world. And the church is that vessel. I mean, there were only 8 people left on the face of the planet, right? Like these analogies exist and these stories exist for a reason. God used a church. He used a physical place. And in 1 Timothy 3:15, the church is the pillar and foundation of truth. And it'll be a beacon on the hill that we can visibly see. Like, because people say all the time, it's not the building. I know that's not what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, sure, it's not a brick, right? But
Again, here's
but
another
Jesus
episode.
resides there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's another episode. Back to the speech. Let's bring it up. We can do these other episodes later.
But I really, I maybe am just repeating myself, but what Harrison Butker said about it's not about you. It's what we do is different as Catholics, and I think that's kind of what we forget. It's we're going to be a part of the sacrifice, the holy sacrifice of the Holy Eucharist, of the Mass at the altar, and everything else is just extra. I mean, this is if we have to drive 2 hours. I mean, people used to walk. I mean, Steve, our father-in-law, and your 2 boys went to Peru. They didn't have a priest right there.
Right.
All
Talk
they
about
had.
sacrifice and suffering.
Yep. Yeah. Seriously. I mean, and yet we want the air conditioner to be a little colder, or the choir to be a little prettier.
And that's
or
funny because the
peppier.
first thing after they got back from Peru, I cranked up the air conditioner. Like, Dad, turn it off. I'm like, but it's hot and humid. This is nothing compared to what we're used to.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Wow.
Once it's taken away, once you realize like how comfortable we have it.
Oh, God.
That's where the
We're
devil
spoiled.
wants us,
We're
right?
spoiled.
Yeah.
Either we're too busy or we're too comfortable and lukewarm.
Absolutely.
Lukewarmness is,
Yeah,
that's
we're
where,
spoiled.
yeah.
I guess that to sum up Harrison Butker's speech, the speech heard around the world, I was really, it was kind of, Chris Stefanic kind of put it in a pretty good way. He gave it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. He liked a lot of what he had to say. I think my takeaway on what I enjoyed the most about it is there is no doubt in your mind that man loves his wife.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
wow.
Right.
I mean, the
Yes.
guy, there's something about a guy getting choked up when he starts talking about
Yeah,
his wife.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, dude,
And
I got choked up.
He obviously got the first applause because about it,
Yeah.
because he's sharing his heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You
And
can't
that-
argue with that.
No.
Yeah.
I really like the part about staying in your lane. I think he got out of his lane when he started critiquing the priests and the bishops. I think he should have taken his own advice there. Just get back in your
Or
lane.
again, round it out and say, thank the Lord for your vocation. Like, where
Yeah.
would we be without you?
Yeah.
Some of those.
Again, the libs took it way out of proportion
Always,
with the
yeah.
whole, and they always will.
Yeah.
Barefoot and pregnant. He never said those words. He was
Yeah.
talking about his wife. He was giving a compliment to his wife and what she would say
Exactly.
about
That's
her
what he said.
vocation.
Yeah.
That's all he said.
Yeah.
And so but if he hadn't have said that, would it have gotten this much attention?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because what he said is, ladies, women, you're being fed one of the greatest lies that, you're basically, what he was saying, that your greatest vocation is your independence, basically, and your
those
career
degrees,
and your success in the world. And he talked about being in it, but not of it.
Yeah.
Talked about how his wife was highly educated and she didn't think that she was going to go be a homemaker, but
But she said her life began when she became a wife and a mother and a homemaker. But
Yeah.
he was talking about her.
Because she's
He wasn't talking
investing.
about all women in
She's
general.
investing in her kids, who are the future,
Yeah.
who are the lights, who are the future saints of the world.
And I mean,
What's better
she
than that?
has the greatest opportunity. She has a husband that makes millions of
Yeah.
dollars playing a sport, and she
Won
can
the
stay
Super Bowl
home
a
no
few
problem,
times.
right?
Right,
You know,
yeah.
there's people who struggle to have.
And he gave all the credit because she decided
to
to
her.
be a wife
Yeah.
and a
He's
mother. His Super Bowl ring on his finger is because of her decision.
I mean, it goes. What's that old saying? You know, for every successful man, there's a woman behind him rolling
Sure.
her eyes.
always, yeah. every George needs a Martha. George
you go.
Washington, Martha Washington.
Yeah.
She sewed the flag, you know, that we fly over our country. Yeah, it's one last point I think that I thought was really bold was we get the leaders we deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know, and this comes after Melissa was just quoting somebody posted in the family on Facebook. They posted the phrase I think most of us have heard that strong men create comfortable times, comfortable times create weak men, weak men create
Hard times.
hard times.
Hard times create hard men.
Yeah.
We're somewhere in between weak men and hard times. Well, no, we're in hard times.
Yeah.
We're in hard times.
It's,
So it's going to create hard men. So we're in that circle.
Yeah.
But you're talking about we get the leaders we deserve. You know, I guess it was, I can't remember if it was Hillary versus Trump or was it Trump versus, I forget which election it was.
Yeah.
But they were talking about this is the best we can do.
Right.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the
In
this
both
shows
cases.
Yeah.
well this shows the state of the country and what if this is the best we can do as far as candidates, that tells you where we're at as a country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, you know, Trump versus Biden right now. Is Trump the best? No.
Yeah, there's-
is Biden. Biden doesn't know where he's at.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get political in here because I hate politics, but this is just that this is the best we can do is because this is where the country's at.
Yep. Listen to, I mean, the word, a lot of people don't want to, and they want to do like they did with Harrison Butker and twist the words that he says, you know, when Trump talks. But, you know, I've had these constant, and I think I'll be maybe long dead and gone, but when you look back on history and the potential to imprison a great leader, somebody, if you just go back and look at the statistics, if somebody, you know,
And what are
20
they
years
trying
from
to
now,
do to
50
him?
years from now. Yeah. And they look back and they're like, wow, the economy was amazing. It's black and white. There's no arguing it. They never met the man.
Yeah.
They may not even see a YouTube video of the guy, right?
Right.
And they just look at it on paper. They're going to look back and say, wow, they did everything in their power, and it was a sham banana republic government, you know, corrupt judge, all this stuff that everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
It's not hidden information. And they're going to look back and say, this guy was like Nelson Mandela.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm
Locked away in prison,
I was-
right? And then
yeah.
when he was released, it was this
Yeah.
wonderful, like the
and
people.
this is going to backfire on the libs.
I agree.
I mean, he's going to, and if I was them, I would be nervous because as soon as he gets back into the presidency, I mean, this is Trump we're talking about, and this is not Mandela.
Aim fire.
These guys are in trouble. Somebody said, I was talking to some kids. and,
Somebody's
you know,
going to be like, are these guys 501c3?
I was talking to some
chopping
guys
it up.
about it. They were like, well, I'd watch out. He's going to start taking people out like Hillary Clinton did. But I was like, no, Trump's not that way. He's
Yeah.
not going to kill anybody. He's going to make them suffer. And he wants to watch it. You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, Lordy.
He's going to
It's
sit
true.
back and watch the show. You know? Oh, man.
I do. It's frustrating oftentimes, you know, when you want to stand up for something bold, something you believe in. You talk about a president. My goodness, he's the president. He was the president, the 45th president, right?
Yeah.
And so you might have disagreements about certain policies and things, but for there to be this controversy of who's going to judge me, how are they going to judge me because I'm talking about this leader. What society do we live in when we fear being able to speak our minds when our country is founded on the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech?
And we talk about all the time. How much longer is it? How long can it take to get worse? I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Do you
Once you
do
take
you
these
stay
steps-
here or do you flee? You know,
Yeah.
and is it going to get better? And there's no
I
guarantee.
don't know.
And
I
what
think-
about for our kids and
Yeah.
the future?
I think the
A
woke
lot of
thing
people are
is-
thinking about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the woke thing's starting to implode on itself because it's all about, you know, they're now they're going against freedom of speech. You that was what the platform that they stood on for long. Oh, this is free speech. And then all of a sudden now it's, well, that's hate speech. Anything that you say that's a counter to what they have to say is hate speech, and that should be canceled. That should be erased. Well, that goes against freedom of speech, which you said was,
right.
So.
But they get to redefine words. That's language matters.
I think it's,
and
people are getting tired of it.
If you repeat something over and over again, I mean, I don't have as much confidence in American people because they hear something over and over again, they start to believe it. I remember my own students, I told them everything that the Catholic Church taught for 3 years. They go to public high school and they believe everything the public high school taught, and they forgot everything about their faith.
Yeah.
So
conditioning.
It's conditioning, indoctrination.
So
that's what they want.
But it works. It
does.
That's what kind of like
So I wonder then, you have all of this years of conditioning, all the major news outlets, they're bought by the liberal left, and I mean, it's obvious because they say it out loud. It's not like it's a hidden thing, and so for me to say this,
no
it's
such
not
thing
controversial.
As biased, we're a news organization.
Yeah, it's true. It's and so
or unbiased.
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 I thought I could
wait,
hear
that
the
doesn't sound right.
yeah, I knew what you were saying for sure.
Yeah.
So, with all this conditioning going on, it does make me wonder. I'm one that I don't like to swing the pendulum hard because that's just like a boxing match.
Right.
Blow after blow after blow. To come back and hit you, right? It's like, what's that, tetherball or whatever?
Right.
Hit you in the back of the head. And so, I just wonder, like, are the ones that stick out on maybe the conservative side, they're just speaking boldly and for them authentically, are they just trying to have like, okay, here's my chance. All authority is given by God. All authority is given by God, the scripture says. So when they have this platform like Harrison Butker did, he was bold. And so was he just trying to swing the pendulum? Because it's hard to get the microphone loud as the rest of the world's crowd.
That's true. Because I think he swings way, but then considering the world, there's a balance there if you put it in between. I do like that.
It's hard. And there's always nuance to everything. Like we talk about the priests and bishops. There's a lot of priests and bishops I wish I could take by the ear and say, dude, your vocation, man. What this, if I had the opportunity you did.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I want to step back and say, well, I don't know the shoes that they're in.
Sure.
Exactly.
But let me say this.
I don't want to be in their shoes.
Yeah,
I know the shoes that I'm in being called priest, prophet, and king, which we're all called to be. And so I will speak up boldly for the truth.
Yeah.
Period. So
let the chips fall where they fall. Right?
It's one of the things about us being Rome boys and not a diocesan-driven organization or a Catholic Church-driven organization.
We can just say it.
We can say it without.
I can honestly say something about myself that I don't like giving people my opinion.
It's tough. Yeah,
I really don't, because I know a lot of opinionated people.
Yeah,
and I've come to learn. I don't know.
You got a show, dude. What
I know. I know. Well, this is my outlet. This is kind of my platform because if somebody asks me my opinion, I'm going to give it. Yeah. This is kind of that way of doing that. If somebody's asking my opinion, okay, I'll give it. But out in public, I mean, I can talk it up with anybody, but it's just that I don't really like giving my opinion because I don't want to come across as opinionated. Yeah. My opinion is right no matter what.
Right.
And you should listen to what I have to say.
If you ask, you'll tell, but versus just saying it without them asking.
Right. I'm not going to go out there and start baiting people with questions just so I can give my opinion. I know people like that. It's just, I'm going to ask you what you think about this so I can give you what I think about it.
Media used to be one way. Turn on the TV and you listen. Turn on the radio and you listen.
Receive.
Now it's two-way because of this thing, the phone. Social media has comment sections and, there's dialogue and that's different from whenever you see somebody on the television say something, then you're hanging out with your buddies, and you're like, let me tell you what I think. Well, I think
that's a whole different situation.
It's a whole different, right? It's a setting, it's a context, it's a community.
Yeah.
And they talk about online platforms and online communities. That's not a community.
Yeah.
I took a class in 2001 called "The Effects of the Computers and the Internet on Society." Talk about diving in and getting
I wonder what it would say now.
Oh my goodness, dude. Different. I tell you what, he was right. My professor was right on every point. Just that there's there's no accountability.
Exactly. You can be a tough guy behind
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
keyboard.
Where does road rage come from? Like, I'm behind the wheel, I'm behind this windshield, I'm behind my door, I'm behind my vehicle.
I'm protected.
Yep. And you
Behind
can,
that keyboard, behind that screen,
Yep.
I can be whoever I
Exactly.
want to be. I can be tough.
and so
can
I get
be-
your
yeah.
point, Joe. I
They're
mean,
all
like,
cowards
you don't want to
most of the
just
time.
be an opinionated, everybody needs to hear what here's the 10 Commandments. I'm bringing them down from
Yeah.
that.
But what you just said about being in a community and talking, amongst your buddies, everybody sitting around on tailgate, cracking open a beer, you're going to have conversation. And when it's
Yeah.
with like-minded people, you're in your community to where it's not so much your opinion as much as we're having a conversation with like-minded people. Where this is where Harrison Butker was.
Yeah.
He was in a room
Sure.
Right.
with like-minded people, the same standards, the same goals, the same belief system,
Yeah.
and he was giving a speech, and here it went, got overblown by people who weren't part of the community.
I was constantly asking myself, like, did they vet his speech
I
before?
wonder.
Because it kind of tells you, okay, either
Well,
they
his
support.
wife did.
Yeah, yeah, right, absolutely.
Yeah, good question.
It-
Hard
I-
to tell.
Yeah, and I guess to some extent, I kept asking myself, well, what does it matter? If they said, go say your thing,
Yeah.
it comes down to one word only, trust.
Yeah.
And that's what, Patrick Lencioni in the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and why this group works. And the only way any true group will work, and that's if you haven't read the book, you have to read it. You can listen to it on YouTube, The 5
good book.
Dysfunctions of a Team. It's so good because,
Oh, you can listen to it?
yeah, you can.
Oh,
there
okay.
you go. We'll get Joe to read it now. Read,
Yeah.
listen.
See the link.
Patrick Lencioni is Catholic. Didn't realize that till last year when we were talking with
Yeah,
Chris
Chris
Stefanik.
Stefanik. They have a great podcast in the morning, 3-minute reset.
Yeah.
It's a lot of business talk, but it's just 3 minutes. It's great.
So
It's great.
we can have dialogue and that tailgate conversation because
Yeah.
there's trust there, and trust is the foundation of every team. Even in a family, I would call that a team as an analogous word, because if you have trust, then you don't have artificial harmony, another dysfunction of a team. When you have artificial harmony, that means that you fear conflict around ideals. And if you fear that conflict, you can't just speak your mind openly with each other. And to your point, and the reason I mention this is because he was in a Catholic university. They had to trust what he was going to say was just simply the truth, and it was his commencement speech.
his perspective,
They asked
yeah.
him to speak. This
Yeah.
is his opinions.
Yeah, they didn't say, "Hey, will you please take this microphone, and repeat the same
And
rhetoric?"
here are your comments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Read the teleprompter.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Here's your speech.
He's given other talks before. He
Yeah.
was just in
Oh,
other
yes.
places, in men's talks, wherever else. So Benedictine College would know kind of what they're going to
True.
get. You know
Yeah.
what he's
Well,
going to
and
What
you-
Mother Teresa do?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right
yeah.
in the largest audience ever at
Yeah.
Harvard, I believe it was.
I think so.
It was Harvard, and the largest audience
I was
ever.
thinking the Nobel Peace Prize, when
and
but anyways.
yeah, and she gave the commencement speech and said, I mean, Harvard invited Mother Teresa,
Teresa.
and she
How
said,
could you not? I mean,
all
she's-
of you, you should,
Well, it
you
was
should
old
listen to
Harvard.
it. It's so good because she said, you believe in abortion
Yeah.
and contraception,
Yeah, yeah.
and this is wrong,
No
and it's the
clapping at that
culture of
point.
death. Yeah, at the very end, eruption. They just everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are
Because
people
you
that
can't argue with the truth.
it's
The truth is the truth.
God has
yeah.
a winning
And you can't
formula.
argue with a saint. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Right, right.
absolutely.
although she wasn't a saint yet. You have to be dead. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Carlos Acutis, we'll have to talk about that some point.
Yeah.
So not to shift, but
Soon to be saint.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay. So to
we
round
got to
it
see
out,
his body.
Yeah, that was cool. So to round it all out,
Yeah.
I think it was great. I mean,
Be bold, be real, be Catholic. I mean, like, he did it.
I know he did it. He said his
Yeah.
thing. I know I've said stupid stuff, and I've
Well,
done it
that's-
behind a microphone.
yeah.
I'm not saying what he said was stupid.
No.
I'm saying that what I said was stupid, and
Yeah. Well, what on that point, Father Joe in one of his videos on it was the guy's 28 years old.
Yeah.
He's 28
Yeah.
years old. He's giving his experience
that's what he said.
at 28 years old.
He said, "This is not coming from wisdom.
Yeah, I know it. He
This is
admitted
coming
it.
from my experience."
This is
He's
what-
20 years old.
this
He
is
goes,
all I
if
know.
you were
That's
to,
a wise
if
thing
you
to
were
say.
look back, like Father Joe mentioned this, he said, if I were to look back at my 28-year self
Yeah.
giving a speech, my 28 years old, I'd be like,
20 or
dude,
28? How old is
28.
28. Okay.
If I were to look back at myself at 28 giving a speech, I'd be like, dude, shut
Yeah.
up, man. You're an idiot. You know?
Yeah. And now
always
it's on
improve.
the internet forever.
Yeah. And then
but
if I were to go back in when I'm 60 or 70 and go back and watch some of these videos, I'm
Yeah,
like, dude,
yeah.
shut up. You
Yeah.
talk too much.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be my worst critique.
the reason I said that I loved every word of it was because he was genuine, is what he believes. And
Yes.
for people to disparage it,
absolutely.
because it goes really to a lot of the heart of it. He talked about TLM a lot, and there's controversy within and without
That'll be our
the
next
church.
episode.
Yeah. What he said is, about that specifically, he said, this is what I love, and because I go there, it does not mean I disparage everybody else who goes to a different mass.
He was clear on that.
It was
yeah.
very clear. And so that's why I have a heart for the mission of the unity of our Catholic faith, because
Yes.
there's only one Catholic Church.
Yeah, I hope that's everybody's mission.
Yes. And so what I want to do, if I had a message in that, is to say, love those people because they love the Mass. Silence for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Love those people because they love the Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And why do we have to go deeper than that? Now, there are going to be people on both sides of that conversation.
All right, I'm going to make a timeout right
Yeah.
here. We're going to do that on the next one.
There we go.
All right. So in the meantime,
Thanks. Be bold.
be real.
Be Catholic.
God bless.